Hi friends, David here from Learn Christmas Lighting, and if you're starting out with a Christmas light show, you might see piles and piles of equipment in people's shows. Stuff like, all of this and more. All this stuff on the table. There's lights and cables and computers, controllers of all sorts. And so this is the video where I stand here and say, here's what all this stuff is. Here's why you should care. Here's how it affects you. And if you're building your first show, it doesn't have to be, and it's not, hopefully, as complicated as it looks. So, let's dive in. What do you need to build a Christmas light show? Okay, so if you haven't seen this before, we're Learn Christmas Lighting, and we teach people how to make animated light shows. On the table and spread out, even out of view here, I have all the basic components that you need to make an animated Christmas light show. And I'm going to walk through them and what their purpose is. Now, I've done this video before, but we renew it every year or two because honestly, and this blows me away, in this hobby, in animated Christmas light shows, the pace of how things change and move and upgrade actually moves faster than in the stage lighting world where I come from and where we run our other business, teaching people about stage lighting and being stage lighting professionals. The pace of technology and the rate that things change and upgrade here in Christmas lighting is actually faster. And that's nuts because it's essentially a hobby industry. But regardless, it is what it is, so we like to keep these things up to date. And don't let that scare you away, because the great thing is, every year when we see things upgrade, we see things change, we see things improve, for the most part, the things that we see change and upgrade make your life easier. Occasionally something seeps in that makes your life harder, but most of the time it makes your life easier, makes this hobby easier for people to get into and get started with, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to start at the lights and work my way backwards till we hit the end, the very first thing you could possibly need to make a Christmas light show. Let's talk about the lights, okay? So first thing you've got is these are lights that we use in Christmas light shows. They're called pixels, okay? What makes them different from ordinary lights? Well, we covered that a few weeks ago, so we're not going to go into depth here, but basically they're smart in the sense that each light has three colors, red, green, and blue, that it can turn on and off in various steps to make most colors, okay, with your light. Pretty cool. So they can flash, they can animate, they can change colors, etc. Okay, so you start with the lights. Then you've got to put the lights somewhere. Now, what we do in animated Christmas lighting is we do something called pixel mapping, okay? And what that means is we tell the computer where all of these lights are, okay, where each one of them is in your show, and it's not that complicated. And then the computer can play animations across them. So how does the computer know where all the lights are, what pattern they're in? Certainly, if you take this string of pixels and you just start, you find a bush or a tree and you just start zigzagging back and forth like you would with a conventional Christmas light, guess what? That's not going to work well. You're never going to get it to map out right because you're essentially doing a random pattern, okay? That's why if you see Christmas light shows, and chances are there's one in your area, chances are you've seen them online, etc. Maybe you've seen my show on this channel. You're going to see materials such as this. Okay, this is a mesh. This is from Boscoyo Studio, this particular one. And what is cool about these meshes, not only do they look cool, but you actually take these pixel lights, and often we use a pair of pixel pliers or tools, and I've got a video all about those here. And you push them into this media, okay? And when you push them into this media or this mesh, they make a pattern, right? This is actually a 1/2-inch mesh. It's really tight. But often you can put them at 1-inch increments. You could skip and do them at 2-inch. There's a lot of different products like this mesh, but also products like singing faces. So the faces that you see that sing to people's shows, ornaments, Christmas trees, any kind of shape, right? The beauty of a product like this is you can then easily know where every light is because you just zigzag in a pattern, or if it's a shape like a tree or a singing character, you can just download that model, follow the path, follow the instructions for punching it in, and then as long as the computer, the wiring in the computer, which you download from the manufacturer, matches what you did in your prop, then it's going to work out and it's going to map perfectly. Okay, the lights are going to do what they're supposed to. Okay, so toss that on the floor because again, this is David wires a bunch of stuff. One of the next questions, or David has a whole table full of stuff. The next question a lot of people have is, okay, how do the pixels plug in, right? So the pixels at the end, actually pick them back up. Whoop. They have a funky little connector here. Most of them these days, the most popular connector is called the X Connect. I don't know if you can see it there in that shot. It's okay if you can't. What it is a threaded, screw together, waterproof connector. Okay, so pixels are low voltage. They use 3 wires. There is 2 wires for power and 1 wire for data. Now, on a technical note, the data wire would also use the negative power in order to run. So you've got 3 wires that need to connect to something. They don't just plug into the wall like regular lights, and if you plug them straight into the wall, you wouldn't be able to control them anyways. More on that in a second. So what do you need? Well, you need extensions, okay? There are lots of varieties of extensions. This is an older one. This is the typical round type extension. Now, we have extensions that we get through Matos Designs. We like them a lot because they are a flat wire. And not that I'm in love with the flat wire. Honestly, it's not my favorite, but they're a lot cheaper than the round wire ones, and they serve the purpose just as well. So why not, you know? But these round ones, these round or flat extensions allow you to use, again, that X-Connect connector and extend it just like you would anything else. Now there's some caveats, some length limitations. You know, you don't want to go too far, but regardless, extensions can get you from your lights back to what, David? What else do you need to make your Christmas light show happen? Well, you need a controller. Okay, so a controller can look like a lot of different things. This, for example, is the dragging controller from Matos Designs. Okay, it's designed on the internals by a company called Experience Lights. But there are lots of other controllers, like this is a controller, okay? These two are an excellent example in different controllers, okay? Because here we have the dragging controller. The Matos Dragon is a really cool controller, and I love it a lot because it comes all in one, right? You just buy it with the power supplies most often, and then you can put it in your show. It comes fully assembled, ready to go. This is a fairly new concept in this industry, however. In the past, both when I started and even up till, you know, like last year, you would buy a cable box like this. So this is a waterproof cable box, basically. And that light is just a little bit bright on there, isn't it? We can fix that right up, see? Because we're a lighting guy. Okay, so you get a waterproof, basically a cable box, where the wires might come out the bottom. You might have cable glands, as they're called, to let the wires out. And then on the inside, you would actually mount together all of your different components inside that controller box. So a controller, at a basic understanding, is not just a controller, but it's really a package, right? And what that means is there's the control board itself, okay? There's one of these in the dragging controller under here. It's on the inside. And it features outputs to your various lights, inputs for a computer network, wireless to connect wirelessly to things, and maybe a screen, okay? But then there's also, on the other side, I've got here a power supply, okay? The power supply might look like this, or there's waterproof ones often that look like this, the ones that come with the Matos Dragon. And what these power supplies do is they allow you to go ahead and bring power into your controller, and more often than not that power passes through your controller and goes out to your lights all in one fell swoop. Okay, so there's different ways. There's something called power injection. We're not going to get into that here, but you need power supplies in conjunction with your controllers to provide power to your lights. Now, I've mentioned here a couple times that, just move a couple things aside here while I do this. I mentioned here a couple times that these pixel outputs, these lights that we use, these pixels and whatnot, they're low voltage. And the data that they use, not only will the voltage drop over long distances of wire, but the data signal that they use is not designed to go long distances. And so what you get here is, okay, so if I have a controller box, like back here to the Dragon, I've got a controller box here, you know, and I want to go out of the plugs on it to some lights, right? I'm going to plug in light string 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? That's all well and good and works great if they're under about 25 feet. Then the lights will have enough power, they'll have enough data to do what they need to. When you get above this length, I even say 15 sometimes, but 25, then you have to, it gets complicated. You could add what are called F amps and power injectors, or as I recommend, what we typically do is go with a long range receiver. So most of today's controllers offer the ability to use a long-range receiver port. Like on this Dragon, there are 4 network cable ports on the outputs here. And so we'll need a network cable, just regular Cat5e, works great, okay? And this is sending not a actual network signal, like these long-range receiver ports don't plug into a regular computer network, but they're just using the wire, the network wire, to connect to a long-range receiver, which could be a bare circuit board like this built into a box, and there are a lot of options there. It could also be a pre-built receiver box like the Dragon controller people have, or a ready-to-run box that somebody else built that you purchased, okay? So the cool thing is, right, any given controller is often going to have a mix. These days, most controllers will have a mix of both local ports that at the controller you get an output right there, and long range ports where you can plug in network cables straight between the long range port and a receiver, often a smart receiver they're called, and get 4 more ports some distance away. Often they say hundreds of feet. The exact lengths aren't really specified because most people do in-house displays. You're not typically going over 200 or 300 feet between your controller and your receivers. Now, you can, in a show, have multiple controllers, okay? That's another question we get a lot. The number of controllers you have in a given show is pretty much unlimited. And so you don't always have to, and there's a lot of different ways to splice it out to make it work, but you don't always have to have just one big controller with a bunch of network cables going out to different receiver boards. You could have different controllers that all have show players built in that play the show and stay in sync wirelessly, and they could all sit on a wireless network together. And you can have a few big controllers, you can have a lot of little controllers, depending on how your show is, how it lays out, and how you like to run things. The exact way you configure and set up controllers is going to vary. Sometimes people have one controller that's the show player, network cable between that and all of the other controllers, and there's only one show player. There's a lot of ways to slice the cake, okay? So how does the show player get its information? We're really getting to the end here, people. I promise, we're getting close. So the show player gets its information from a computer, okay? So that's the last thing you do need, okay? The X-Lite software is the best way to run a Christmas light show. Not only is it free and open source, though we do recommend making a donation to them, as we do. It is free and open source. It runs on PC, Mac, and Linux. This is where you create your shows inside of a computer. Now, in terms of what computer to use, we actually have a podcast on the Learn What's Happening in Christmas Lighting podcast, either soon or just happened. So do check that out. It's one of the first ones. But, you know, it doesn't have to be a high-spec computer by any means, especially when you're first started. And the cool thing about it is, you go in the computer and you sequence your lights. You build out the sequences, and we have tutorials on X-Lights on how to do that here on the channel. You can check those out. You build those sequences, or you buy sequences from other people, or get them for free, and import them to your layout. And then you hit save, you render it out, and you can export it to your show players. And so that gives you the ability that once your show's running, once you're done programming, you're ready to play things, this goes away. You don't tie up a computer every night, sitting in your front bedroom or what have you, running your show. It used to be that way. Thankfully, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. You can run your show off of, oftentimes, a show player built right into your controller. Okay? Whew! Okay. That was a lot of information. But I hope you can understand, and that gives you really the 30,000 foot overview. The overview of like, okay, these are all the parts that make up a Christmas light show in 2023 or 2024, or maybe 2025. Maybe they won't change too much by then. And these are how we use them together to make a great show. If you're interested in more, I've got my 4 things that you need to know before you start your first Christmas light display over at learnchristmaslighting.com. It's a free download. Just enter your email and then we'll follow up with you. We'll help you out. We'll teach you about our academy, where we have step-by-step courses that run through everything. And we'll let you know about the fact that we now sell lights too. We have some of the finest pixels around, some of the most reliable, but still well-priced pixels, moving lights, DMX stuff, all the good stuff. Okay, so stay tuned for all that. Be sure to grab that free guide over at learnchristmaslighting.com, and we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.